Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome back to me again. I'm Muhammad Alief Zaki, student number 204120040 and I would like to explain about the syntactical of question. For you English learner, you must no longer restrained with the word yes or no. Okay, so let's discuss about yes or no question. So yes or no question is a type of question that only needs the response yes or no. The function is to ask for information or to clarify something, or if you want to ask something to do somewhat. Like the structure is different from the declarative sentence where the normal word order you use subject plus verb plus object. However, in question sentence you use auxiliary plus subject plus main verb. Like for example, well, she is coming. When you transform it into question statement, it will become is she coming. However, for some cases like in modals or other auxiliary verbs like do, the how to state this is to add the auxiliary verbs before the subject, and after that you add the main verb. Like, as an example, in the word you like tea, when you transfer it into the question statement, it will become do you like tea. But you use word do to indicate it is a question. Not only do, you can use like the to be or to have. Now let's move about you see the auxiliary verb do in English used when there's no other auxiliary verb like to be, but in a sentence that directly jump into the main verb like I like coffee. When you transform it into question statement, you add do before the subject and it becomes do do I like coffee. And now that was the yes no question. Now let me move to the WH question. WH question usually start not usually. Always start with the question signal like what, who, which, where, why, and how. How to adapt in the sentence? Well, you see the pattern is the the question signal plus modal modals plus subject plus main verb. As an example, what are you doing? See, the what is the question signal, and are is the auxiliary verb, and the subject is you, and the main verb is to it. Well, there are also situations where the question doesn't need an auxiliary verb. For example, who brought this cake? Listen, in this sentence, we just want to know who, the subject who. We don't, no, not the brought action. And that's the simple way where not all of the WH question needs auxiliary verbs. And let's move the topic. Have you ever heard about direct and indirect question? What's the difference? So direct question is just as jump to the point, like they directly ask the question like let's see. Okay, well, like do you like coffee? And in the direct question, you add the signal phrase before the question statement, like do you know what time it is? Right. So it's like for so other to so this structure is necessary in order to make the sentence more complex and improve politeness or embrace the power of the sentence. As an example, another example is, can you tell me where the bus stop is? You know, you might find that some indirect question does not have the question mark like this. Why? Because you see the inversion on the second at the second clause doesn't doesn't you don't not infer that they're useless. Like you're not asking something, but you want information about something. Or like we have discussed about the auxiliary verb, and what about in modals? Modals like can, will, should. Well, you see, it's used similar structure in both yes no question or WH question. In yes no question, you can just use the modal first, and then the subject, and then the main verb. So, for example, will you go there? Like will is the modal comes before the subject. And in WH question, where the question signal comes first before the modal, and then followed by the subject and the main verb. Like for example, what can you do? Well, you may figure out all of the question statements use the inversion where the the, the auxiliary verb comes before the subject, and then the main verb. So what's the point? It's because the sen it's because to emphasize that the type of the sentence is a question sentence which has different structure compared to declarative sentence. Okay, for new beginners might find that to make this question sentence might be difficult, and therefore because that they might can recognize how to but they can make the like, the question statement. The they will just use the declaration statement and add the question mark at the end of it. And figure how to settle this up? Like we as a teacher, we have to explain both of the structure, the declarative and the question structure, and tell them to make do type of different sentences and then apply it in both speaking and writing. At least they will memorize the structure eventually. Well, indirect question, as I explained before, why do we have to add, add a first statement before the question clause? Because to make our sentence more acceptable and improve politeness and also empowering our sentence. I think that's all what I can explain for you today. I'm sorry if I made a mistake. Later,